Hello, my name is Christopher Sherman, and I will be showing you some of the work that I did this month on our game Eclipse. We're Shadowfall Games, and I'll go ahead and show it opening up from the File Explorer. Let's see. The one we're looking at here is Eclipse Final Build October 22nd. Show in. This one. Okay, and while that is booting up, I'm going to switch over to Jira. And to start off, this task, change battery receivers to laser battery asset. This one got cut. I decided that the idea of it was at the beginning, the laser receivers that activated certain objects were just a cylinder, a metal cylinder with a red light on them, and then when you shot them, the red light turned to green, and then it powered whatever they were attached to. And I decided that after I added all the assets and changed the lighting in the level, the walls are all metal or metallic, and the level is kind of dim. I thought that the green and red glow of the light looked cool, bouncing off the metal surfaces and kind of lighting up the dim level. So I ended up keeping that aspect of it, so that got cut. And I will go ahead and show you that in the build. We'll hop in, and I'll run over to the first. Take out these guys really quick. So here you can see the laser receiver, still the red. I like the way it glows in the environment. I think it fits well with the power-ups as well. It kind of makes like a cyberpunk neon feeling. And so if you hit it, switches to green, lights up green, and powers the door. Take him out, and we'll switch back over to Jira. Alright. Next, we can take a look at this bug, fix the enemy cover selection. So to read this one, in the build version of the project enemies lost the ability to recognize what walls were designated as cover, causing them to take cover behind any object, including the player. The enemy should only take cover behind waist-high walls that they can shoot over. Actual result, enemies take cover behind waist-high walls, taller walls, and even the player. Start game and select laser level. When in the level, walk into the first area with enemies, fire at them once, and watch them enter cover on various objects. And so with this one, I figured out the issue was that what was going on was for the cover, I made a custom trace channel that was just cover, and so any object that blocked that trace channel was designated as cover for the AI. And so I found out the issue, it worked fine in editor, and I found out the issue in the build was that the trace channel wasn't going over to the build. I wasn't sure why. I even tried to check out the project settings, resave it, and check it back in, everything, and it still didn't go over to the build when we tested it again. So I kind of dropped the whole cover idea, and instead I just ended up reworking some of the enemy navigation so they are more agile when out of cover. They move around a little bit more, and so they don't always just stand still and fire at you. They look around for a more opportune position, and I'll show you a little bit of that here. See this guy running around, trying to re-navigate to a better area, not always standing around CPM. So the actual cover portion that we got dropped is just reworked. They still take cover on some stuff, but it's for the most part it's been reworked. And then next up, let's see. Next up, I can talk about the laser charge time. And for this one, description: as a designer, I want to make sure that the laser weapon laser weapon charge time is adjusted, so that's a viable option for the player to use in combat when compared to the machine gun. Completion criteria: shorten the laser weapon charge so it can compete with the machine gun. Change the charge time length on the timelines. Adjust the damage multiplier to still be viable with a shorter time. And playtest after the changes to make sure that the targeting beam is charging correctly, correct amount of damage is being dealt, and the charge meter is still increasing. And since this is a balancing task, I went ahead and entered some supporting information. The issue was that at the end of last sprint, we changed. Originally, the machine gun was a semi-automatic single fire, so every time you click the button, it would fire. We changed kind of last minute in the last sprint the machine gun to be fully automatic. That drastically increased its fire rate and trivialized the laser gun just because the charge time length was not really worth it on the laser gun when compared to the automatic machine gun. So for the supporting information, the main gun was initially single fire, which made the 3-second charge time on the laser a fair alternative given the damage multiplier. Last sprint, the main gun was changed to an automatic machine gun, drastically increasing the fire rate and effectively eliminating any reason to use the laser gun in combat. I would like to change the charge time to 1 second or 1.5 seconds, so it's still a viable option for the player. So here you can see I went ahead and changed the charge time to 1.5 seconds. And so I changed the charge time to 1.5 seconds. The timeline was changed accordingly. I changed the damage multiplier so it's still equal to the amount of time, so it's still equal to the amount of damage it would have dealt at the full 3 seconds. So I adjusted that, and then I also fixed the damage bar to still display the full charge at 1.5 seconds. Next was the bulk of this sprint, this task. Change textures and replace placeholder assets laser level. As a player, I would like the environment to be believable and enhance my overall experience with the game. Completion criteria: add meshes as decoration around the level. Add new textures to walls or replace walls with new assets. Add new textures to floors. Add new textures to laser activated pieces instead of just blank metal. Change lighting for the level so it's not so bright. Add flickering point lights to give it a rundown feeling. And add art like cracks, assets like weeds, or effects like water dripping to give the level an abandoned feeling. And replace cylinder cables with the real cable asset. And so for the water dripping effect, I couldn't find one that I liked, so I did end up finding a cool steam and fog effect, and so I added stuff like steam coming out of broken pipes, fog on the hydraulic doors, just to kind of give them like a sci-fi hydraulic door feel, like the fog like comes out as the doors open, and then stuff like sparks coming out of broken wires, that kind of stuff. So for this one, I'll just go ahead and walk through the entire level and kind of show you all the stuff all the assets and everything. So here already, all these have been replaced with these sci-fi walls. I added the door here just because I thought it made more sense to have a door behind the player at player's start than have it be an empty room with only one exit. This is the first flashing light I did. It's flashing red light just to kind of give the player an extra light in the starting area. And also, I think it gives kind of a feeling that you're entering a sort of like abandoned or like a facility that's on the cusp of, being destroyed. Also added all of these cryo tubes here. It's kind of some set dressing and a little skeleton popping out of this broken one. Yeah, and so these floors are all new as well. I liked having this like one runway up to the thing, and then these two side panels here that are separate. Also, this box I added a little platforming to get that health, and there's a laser wire right there. You can see the sparks coming out of it and the fire on the broken tubes there. Go ahead and open this, and here's the fog coming out of the door. Take this guy out real quick. So you come through here, and there's some steam shooting out of that pipe as well, and also just the pipes going vertically on the wall for some set pieces.
The building is
and here, you come through here, you can't get up there yet. So you look around and you see that there's these broken pipes that have fallen down from somewhere. So you figure that there must be something up there. You can also see this open gap right there. So here's the door, come through here. We have a platforming section. This area does damage you if you fall in. And also, it's worth mentioning that I thought that it would be cool, I did it right here as well, but I thought it would be cool since we have a top-down shooter to add some objects in between both the player and the camera, just to kind of give it an even more 3D feeling. So I added wires and pipes and stuff above, in between the player and the camera, just to kind of make it feel like you're something a little bit more. Oh, that's not good. Alright, we'll go ahead and try again. Alright. Jump across here, take out these guys, and also, let's see. Alright, also, here's a flickering light with a little broken light hanging down over there. That was really the reason why I made the flickering light material function, I believe they're called. And so I ended up using it pretty much in a bunch of places, but this is really the reason why I did it. It was that part right there. Come up here, and then this area has been completely reworked. Originally this was just a glass hallway that was above the stairs, and when you press the button you could see, or when you fired at the button you could see the stairs kind of emerging from under the glass. I couldn't find a way to artistically tie that in with the rest of the level, so I ended up just making this kind of like a maintenance hallway that just for like maintenance of the pipes and everything like that. And instead, since I closed it off and you can't see down there, I went ahead and added a camera onto these stairs here. There's a sound effect on the stairs as well now, and so now you know that they're open. Also added this drop down, so you can just drop right down onto the stairs. You don't have to go back down and risk falling into the fire. Also, this area has been completely reversed. Originally the end was going that way. I changed it to be going this way just because there was an issue when you went up the stairs. The camera would hit on the edge of this area.
Please exit the building in a calm and orderly fashion.
Drop down, take these guys out. That little pipe in the floor, or that little hole in the floor, is also where it's supposed to be where the pipes fell down from. So here I kind of did a little bit more with the cables going across the screen, just to kind of give you some action in between the player and the camera. Alright, more steam and some other just props and everything. Also, the flickering light here, I found a cool air vent, an air vent prop that I added in, and I made the flickering light too to kind of like shoot through that to make it stand out a little bit, because I did kind of feel like it was a bit unnoticeable without it. I was worried that people might miss it. So when you fire here, opens up that air vent, and you can head inside. Also put this pipe leading to it to just try to to section off the material or the floors. So because I couldn't figure out a way to get this one to go into this one, there wasn't any curved pieces. But also just to lead the player's eye over to this area. And this is one of my favorite areas of the level. I use pipes completely as the flooring and just had like a glowing asset under the floors to give it like, I don't know, like there's lights under there. Added a bunch of stuff in between the player and the camera just to make it feel kind of more cramped, and added some fog on the ground to make it there's like steam rising up all the pipes. Head through here, and now we're into the nice die on this. Alright. Into here, and now I use the air vent mesh again with these floors to make it seem like it was like a, oh no, 4 health. Oh. Alright. Respawn. Go ahead and head back Alright. Take him out. And also this one's tall enough that you can crouch under it to take those two guys out. Step on that. And that lowers that door there. It's supposed to be like a little prison containment cell for whatever was in those cryo tubes. Come back through this air vent. Also you can see the flickering flashlight up here. Take this fella out. Go ahead and fire at this one. And that opens up our path to
Mister, welcome
the
to the
boss
men's room.
arena. And I didn't show you that earlier, but there is
I
water
sure hope you wash those hands.
under that. There's water under these, and there's like sparks coming out of them to make the water seem electrified. It is an instant kill if you fall in. Take that turret out and let's hop in. Go ahead and shoot this to open up the cover. Kind of give you some space when he's firing at you to charge his laser. His friend shoots at you. Heal up, and then let's go ahead and pop these two off. And then just like before, when we're fighting the main boss, we can hide behind these shields, just run through, fire at them, charge the laser behind the shields, run across, fire, charge, fire. Okay. Open that. And also this fire damage as well. Just a little bit dumb. And yeah, and so that leads me to the end of the level. I'll go ahead and walk through it. And that is it. That's the end of the level and the project. So I hope you enjoyed taking a look. For the times on everything, I didn't go over those. But so it was about 3 hours logged on lighting. A day and 5 hours logged on textures or textures to walls or replace walls. That took the longest, just because my initial idea was that I would, it was gonna be like an office building or something. I was gonna have like desks, and I'll just replace the assets or the materials on the walls with just like white, and maybe add some like I don't know, like some molding or something on the side to kind of give it like make it stand out a little bit. But I ended up finding that really cool sci-fi space pack that I went with instead, but that required me to go through and basically manually replace all the floors and walls. So it took way longer than I thought it was going to. For this one, 4 hours logged on add meshes and decorations around the levels. Here you can see that I thought it was going to be an office, chairs, front desk, doors on blank walls. Add cracks like weeds, and then there's no time logged on that one. New textures to laser activated pieces. This took me 6 hours, a lot longer than I thought it was going to, just because there were a ton of issues with the way I had those working, because they all move. And then add new textures to floors, 6 hours. Again, it took me quite a long time. And then for laser gun charge time length, hour. Damage multipliers, hour. And shorten laser time, that was 30 minutes. For the bug, I had 3 hours logged. So I just tried to go through and fix that, and I couldn't, so I just reworked everything else instead. And so yeah, I think that is everything, and I hope you enjoyed watching, and I hope you liked the level, and I hope you also get a chance to give it a try. Thanks. Bye.
Hi, my name is Brandon Neal. Today, I'm going to be going over all of the tasks that I completed for this final sprint. The first task I was assigned with is changing the time of day. This task was to change the time of day for the nano bridge level. So change the time of day to nighttime for the nano bridge level. Adjust the lighting so that the level is not dark, and remove the shadows from the level. So now I'm gonna showcase it in the build. So if we go to the nano bridge level, when you open it up, you can see that it's nighttime and there are no shadows on the ground, reflecting off the trees and stuff. For my next task, I had implementing access to the level. I have 5 subtasks for this. This was just changing the message of the power-ups that we had in the game. So the tasks are adding sci-fi songs and cues to all the power-ups, change the mesh to the 2-time damage pickup, change the mesh to the tip adrenaline, change the mesh to the shockwave pickup, and change the mesh to the health pickup. So now I'm going to showcase that in the not close it actually. Build, I'm gonna go to the laser level because it has more enemies. And you can see the pickups on the ground for the new meshes for the power-ups. You have the temp adrenaline, the shockwave, 2-time damage, and a health pickup over here. So those are the new meshes for the power-ups. For my next task, I was changing the gun sounds. So for the first subtask, it was change the sound of the gun to fit the theme, change the sound of the enemy weapons to fit the theme, change the sound of the turrets to fit the theme, and implement the laser asset to all weapons. So I'm gonna start this. So when I shoot the gun, you can hear that is kind of like a futuristic laser sound, which is the sound cue that I put on the gun. And for this, you can hear the enemy's gun, which also sounds futuristic, the laser sound. And all the turrets. Just show the turrets. Do that. And that is the sound that the turret makes. Changing the sound key. And for my final test, the final boss. For the final boss, I made it so the boss's name is displayed on the screen, and the health bar is also displayed at the top of the screen, and the health bar is scaled to fit the screen properly, so it doesn't overlap with any of the other widgets on the screen. For that, I have to complete this level to get to the final boss. Kill by that.
Please exit the building in a calm and orderly fashion. Warning, fortified
Alright, so this is the boss room. And when we enter, the boss's health bar will pop up on the screen. And you can see the name of the boss. And that is everything that I completed for the final sprint.
Hello, my name is Nicholas Larkin, and I will be showcasing the 15 tasks I worked on for the milestone sprint. So the first one we're going to start with is the block player from escaping the campsite area. And for the description of this, as a designer, I want to prevent the player from escaping the NanoBridge campsite area, ensuring they remain within the intended gameplay boundaries. The dependency for this is level design and collision boundaries for the NanoBridge campsite area. The completion criteria: implement assets of a nature to ensure players cannot leave the NanoBridge area. And I logged 5 minutes for this. And let's go to the subtask of it. And implement assets with the proper collision to prevent the player from escaping said section. For the description of this can be from trees to rocks and any natural asset of an environment. And let's showcase this in the level. But first, let's launch the package build. And we're just gonna go to the first level that I worked on, the NanoBridge. And to showcase the task, you can see the stones and assets that I implemented as walls and basically a boundary so that you're not able to jump out of the side of the campsite, and it forces you to go through the only way, which is the cave door right here in front of us. And as you can see, you just cannot jump past that. You cannot get through it. Can't get through the boundaries at all. Can't get up there. And we will be going on to the next task. Okay, so now we are at the second task, which is the tutorial box issue. And the description for this one is: a lot of the tutorial boxes do not close at all when you overlap with the next one, or close when you press C, or any one closes, or only one closes. As a designer, I want all tutorial boxes to function correctly so the player can have a smooth learning experience. Dependencies for this is the nano level bridge. Completion criteria: ensure all tutorial boxes close correctly when overlapped with the next one, or when the player presses the C key. For the summary of this, many tutorial boxes do not close as intended. Some remain open when overlapping with subsequent boxes, while others only close when the C key is pressed. In some cases, only one box closes instead of all relevant boxes. Expected results: when the player overlaps with new tutorial boxes or presses the C key, the current tutorial box should close, ensuring that only the most relevant information is displayed to the player. Actual results: a significant number of tutorial boxes do not close as expected. Some remain open even when a new box is overlapped, causing confusion. Others only respond to the C key, and sometimes only one box closes instead of all that should. Steps to replicate this: begin the tutorial level and progress until encountering a tutorial box. Overlap the sequences boxes or press the C key to observe the behavior of the boxes. The severity of this issue is severe because if the tutorial box do not close as intended, it can confuse and frustrate players, hindering their learning experience. So the subtasks for this are: fix all tutorial boxes from duplicating. Make sure all tutorial boxes have to have a do once logic. And the second one is fix all tutorial boxes to close when you reach another one. Description for that: ensure all tutorial boxes close correctly when overlapping with the next one or when the player presses the C key. And I logged 7 minutes for this one, and for the other one I logged 2 minutes, and for this task I also logged 1 minute. So now I'm actually going to show you. So as you can see, we're starting off with a tutorial box already. Start the game and locate the nano bridge. If you have come into contact with enemies, defeat them to construct the bridges. Good luck. Press C to close. So I could press C to close this one. First, I'm gonna press C to close it. But if you were to run into this, it would have closed it also. So I can run into this and the next tutorial box pops up, and in this spot there is a overlap event, and before, if you overlapped into this multiple times, it would spawn a bunch of the same box over and over. But now there's a do once, so now it will only show up in the viewport or in the HUD only once. And I can also show that once you go to the next one, the other one disappears and a new box shows up, and you can also press close. That's it for this task. Okay, for the third task, it is the power-ups blocking bullets. This is a bug. In the previous task was also a bug, but this task is the second bug out of the task. But this is the third task I'm showcasing, and it is the power-ups blocking bullets. And for the description of this, as a designer, I want power-ups to not block bullets, so the player can have a consistent and intended experience. Dependencies for this is bullet and power up, interactions, completion criteria, ensure all power ups, phase through the bullets without blocking or stopping them. For the summary of this, currently when bullets hit the power ups, they are blocking instead of phasing through, which is not intended behavior. Expected results: when the player shoots a bullet and it comes in contact with the power up, the bullet should phase through the power up without any interference. Actual result: when bullets hit the power up, they are stopped and do not phase through. This can disrupt gameplay and is not intended interaction. Steps to replicate: start the game, locate a power up in the level, shoot the bullet towards the power up, observe if the bullet is stopped by the power up or if it phases through. Severity: the severity of this, the issue is significant because it disrupts the intended gameplay mechanics and can potentially affect the player's strategy or experience. And now I will be showing you where the power-up issue is at. Well, this isn't actually an issue anymore. It's been fixed. I'm meaning actually. So now when you shoot at the power-ups, shoots through it. Before it used to hit it, and like you see, if you shoot this, there will be smoke when it hits the object because it's blocking. But it doesn't do that to the power-up, which it's supposed to do, and which was a bug for it to have collision. And that has been fixed. On to the next task. So the next task is fix bullet freezing issues. The description for this: there is a problem where the bullet freezes in time and space after the character isn't shooting anymore. This is an issue that I will be fixing, and I believe I have a fix for it. As a designer, I want the bullets to behave correctly after the character stops shooting, so the player can have a immersive and realistic experience. Dependencies: the bullet system. Completion criteria: ensure that bullets do not freeze in time and space after the character stops shooting. For the summary, there's an issue where the bullets freeze in time and space after the character isn't shooting anymore. Disrupting the gameplay experience. Expected result: when the player shoots and then stops, bullets should continue their trajectory or disappear based on the game physics without freezing in midair. Actual results: sometimes after the character stops shooting, the bullet freezes in time and space, making it look unnatural and breaking the immersion. Steps to replicate: start the game, begin shooting, stop shooting, and observe the behavior of the bullets, the last bullet shot. Notice if the bullet freezes in time and space instead of counting its trajectory or disappearing. Severity: this issue is severe because it disrupts the realism and immersive of the game, making the shooting mechanics feel unnatural. So let's go show that this bug is fixed. This is also a bug, and it took me, I logged 3 minutes on this, and on the previous one I didn't show that. I actually logged 6 minutes on that one too, previous one I talked about, and we're going to show this in the actual level. So now you see when you shoot around, doesn't matter what angle you go in, those bullets will not stay. They will disappear. Basically, I used the destroy actor time event tick for this. And it took a lot, it took care of it. So those bullets disappear now. And that is fixed, and we will continue on to the next task. For this task, I fixed an issue with the enemy hitbox being way too big, and fix enemy hitboxes is the name of the task. And for the description of this, as a designer, I want the enemy hitboxes to be accurately sized so the player can have a fair and precise gameplay experience. Dependencies for this: enemy character models and collision detection. Completion criteria: adjust and test all enemy hitboxes to ensure they align correctly with the visual representation of the enemy. The summary: currently the hitboxes for some enemies are too large, leading to situations where the player feels they are unfairly hit or damaged. Expected result: when the player aims and shoots at an enemy, the bullet or attacks should only register a hit if they visually connect with the enemy's model. Steps to replicate this: start the game and engage in combat with enemies. Aim slightly outside of the visual boundaries of an enemy and shoot. Observe if the enemy registers a hit event when the bullets or attack appears to miss the visual model. Severity: this issue is critical because it affects the core combat mechanics of the game, potentially leading to the player frustration and perception of unfair gameplay. And we are going to go to show this. As you can see, when I shoot this far away from the enemy, it's not hitting him, but this is definitely hitting him. You can see I'm not shooting the bullet. And as you can see, any bullets that weren't hitting the enemy were not connected. But before, if you shot on the outside of it, it would still register as a hit, which was wrong, but now it's fixed. Now let's go on to the next task. And we are at the next task. Adjust enemy spawn position. For the description, I think that the enemy spawn position should be readjusted. When I look at this, I feel like enemies should not be falling out of the sky. As a designer, I want to see the enemies are not spawning behind me or in midair. The dependencies for the nano bridge, that's the dependency. Completion criteria, make sure that you have adjusted the position of the target points. Make sure that the enemies do not spawn in midair. I logged 5 minutes for this, and we'll okay, so you did see that they did spawn a little bit in midair, but that's because there was collision issues with the ground when they spawn. But they don't exactly spawn too far behind you, and they're a little closer, and they're in a different position. Before, they were here spawning like right behind you, but now they're a lot closer to where you can see them, and they're more present. As you can see, they spawn, and they spawn properly now. Replacing assets and textures within the level. As a designer, I want to replace outdated or mismatched assets and textures within the level, assuring a cohesive and polished visual experience for the player. Dependencies, asset library, texture library, and level design tools. Completion criteria, identify and replace mismatched assets and textures within the level to assure visual consistency. And I logged 8 minutes for this task. Implement a stone texture to the walls in the level. This is something I did. Implemented trees and rocks on the campsite area. For this, you will be adding trees and rocks to the campsite area. Replace the door asset for the end of the level with a different new asset door. The door at the end of the level should have a new asset replaced by it. Implement grass floor to campsite area. Implement stone textures for the floors in the level. Implement stone texture to the cave door. And for this subtask, I did 4 minutes. I logged 4 minutes. For this subtask, I logged 4 minutes also. For this subtask, I logged 5 minutes. For this one, I logged 2 minutes. And for this one I logged 3 minutes. And for this one I logged 2 minutes. And just to continue on to show these different things I implemented. So if we go throughout the level, you can see I added grass. Here's the stone walls. You can see there's stone and dirt as the texture for the floor. You can see the grass and the leaves. Grass right here. And if we continue on, you can see the trees added to the campsite area. They were implemented. Here's the trees. And we are going to be going on to the door that was supposed to be changed. And here's the stone door asset with sound implemented to it. And the texture. That concludes this task. Last and least for the task, last task, I logged 4 minutes, and this task is the sounds for the portal. And the description is each portal should have mystical sounds coming from it, and also when entered should make a sound. As a designer, when I encounter the portal, I want to hear sounds coming from it, and when I enter it, I want to hear a different sound. Dependencies, all levels portals, all level portals. Completion criteria: implement all levels and have a portal that has sounds playing through it. Implement a different sound to play when you enter the portal. Implement this as a proximity sound. Okay, so these are implement all levels to have basically the portal that has sounds playing through it, is what this task subtask is. And for this, implement a proximity sound, and for this, implement a different sound to play when you enter the portal. And for this, I logged 4 minutes. And for this one, I logged 2 minutes. And for this one, I logged 3 minutes. Now, let's show you how the portal. Okay, and if you go near the portal, the proximity works for the sound. Start to hear portal sounds. And if you go through the portal, you'll be sent to the next level. But because of this pausing, I wasn't able to implement the sound of, well, a portal sound when you go inside of the portal. So this hindered me being able to do that. But I was able to implement the proximity sound for the task. And that concludes this task. And this is the last task.
Hello, my name is Daniel Martinez for Shadowfall Games, and I'm here to do my sprint review task list for our final build. Start here in Perforce, and I will open up from Perforce, but I'm going to play the game from the folder because it tends to be very laggy when playing from Perforce for some reason. I don't know if it's my computer or what, but it tends to play a lot better when I play it from the folder. So, as you can see, the game opens up. Put it back out. Now you can see the folder I'm using is Eclipse Final Build October 22nd. That would be changelog 1222157. And I'm going to open up the folder, show you the same one, Eclipse Final Build October 22nd. And we'll get started from there. Alright, open up my tasks and we'll start on the first one. So the first one is the ambiance for the Nano Bridge level. So click on that. Description is, as a player, I want to feel like I am on a mountain pass so I can feel a sense of risk and adventure. Dependencies are Nano Bridge level. Completion criteria are create and add ambiance sounds for high altitude winds, create and add ambiance sounds for high altitude wildlife. Now I didn't do the wildlife because I realized in thinking about it that there wouldn't really be a whole lot of wildlife up high in the mountains. And any wildlife that would be up there would just be like maybe birds and insects, and they would be completely blocked out by the winds up there and, you know, the background music and everything. So it didn't make sense to do wildlife. Add a wind particle effect that activates and appears to blow dirt off of ledges when the wind sounds. Create and add background music to the level. So, go back into the game and I will open up the first level. Alright, so here's the Nano Bridge level. You can hear the music playing in the background. That's the ambient music. I added sound to this and little poofs of smoke that come out when the wall opens up for you. As you can see, the wind particles are blowing through the air. Those are those white streaks that are blowing by, and on certain parts of the level there's dirt blowing off of the ledges from the wind. So that is it for the ambiance for that level. We'll go back to our tasks. Alright, I'll get to laser gun level in a minute because that's our last level. I'll do Shroud Sneak level first. As a player, I want to feel like I'm in a snowy forest so I can feel a sense of seclusion and desperation. Dependencies are Shroud Sneak level, and the completion criteria is create and add ambient sound for dampened wind. Now, dampened wind is because the wind will be, you know, blowing through trees, and anybody who's ever been outside in the snow knows that this snow tends to soften the sound of the wind. Create and add background music to level. Create visible falling snow. Replace block mesh trees with realistic looking trees. Level now. I will select Shroud Sneak. Alright, so as you can see, I added snow on the ground. You can see the snow falling, you know, from the sky. I added wind particles here also. There's one there. You see I replaced all the block mesh cones with actual trees. The music that's playing was created in BandLab. I actually created it for another level that we had scrapped, but it kind of fit perfect for this kind of setting, so I just repurposed it for this level. That's pretty much it. You can also hear the sound of the wind blowing. It's a little bit quiet, but you can hear it. It gusts up every once in a while. But that's pretty much it for that level. Go back to the menu, and we'll open back up our tasks. And laser gun level. Alright, now this one had a bunch, so I'll have to get pretty much to the end of the level to show you everything. Description is, as a player, I want to feel like I am in a rated laboratory so I can feel a sense of urgency. Dependencies are the laser gun level. The completion criteria are create and add ambient sound for fire in the burning hallway, create and add ambient sound for the automated messages throughout that trigger at timed intervals throughout the level. Create and add ambient sound for the sparking robot in the first hallway. Now, the robot was actually taken out by one of the other teammates, so there is no sound for that because the robot's not there. But I did add ambient sound for hissing pipes in its place. Create and add ambient sound for electric floors, create and add background music to the level, create and add sound for sliding glass door, create and add sound for spinning fans. I also created and added sounds for the sliding staircase, which I'll show you in the level. Alright, so let's open up the laser gun level. Alright, so the music kicks in right there, so you can hear the music playing.
Please
Hear the intercom system. I'll get you a better shot where you can hear it without me shooting. Should be one of the message systems playing here.
Mister, welcome to the mess room. Hey, buddy. I sure hope you wash those hands.
Alright, so the intercom system is just a series of random messages that I have set on a random node. So every time you pass one of these events, it will play one of those random messages. Some of them are kind of humorous, some of them are more serious for the level, but they're all random. And you can hear the hissing sound from the pipe. Right, so this is the fire hallway, so you'll hear the sound of the fire. Should be another intercom system here somewhere.
Warning. There are multiple fire doors throughout the building. Please exit in calm and orderly fashion.
Fire here. So this is the room with the glass sliding door. It's activated elsewhere. Go over here first and I'll show you the electric floor.
Board-wide systems are constant.
You can hear the electric floor. There. And I think all we have left is the spinning fans, sliding door. slight hum to the fans. It's low, but you can hear it. Fans don't really make a whole lot of sound as long as they're working properly. And lastly, you have the sliding glass door. Alright, so that's it for the ambiance for the laser gun level. Go back to the menu and go back to our tasks. Alright, and those are all subtasks of the ambiance task. Alright, so for the remove checkpoint and respawn visibility task, I also have 3 subtasks for that, which is them for each level. Now originally each level had a series of checkpoints, and you could see the trigger boxes even in the build where the checkpoints are. So you know, for realistic sake, nobody wants to see those trigger boxes. Those are for the designer's purpose, not for the players. So go to the Nano Bridge first, since that's the first level. As a player, I don't want to see trigger boxes because it makes the experience less realistic. Dependencies are Nano Bridge level and trigger boxes, and the completion criteria are remove visibility of trigger boxes at the following locations: right before the first bridge, at the first cave entrance, and at the cave exit before Bridge 3. So we'll jump in there and we'll get to those spots and show you exactly where they would have been. Okay, so the first one is right before this first bridge. You see, checkpoint reached, but no trigger box. That's the last checkpoint in this level, so it doesn't matter that we got killed. Go back to the main menu, back into the tasks. For the Shroud Sneak level, okay, everything's the same. As player, I don't want to see trigger boxes because it makes the experience less realistic. Dependencies are Shroud Sneak level and trigger boxes, and the completion criteria are remove visibility of trigger boxes at the following locations: the starting area, first enemy encampment, and second enemy encampment. So this one's easy because I can just sneak by the enemies and show you this one. I'm going to go to Shroud Sneak directly. tasks. Now the next level is the final level, so it has a lot of checkpoints. So as a player, I don't want to see trigger boxes because it makes the experience less realistic. Laser gun level and trigger boxes are the dependencies, and the completion criteria are remove visibility of trigger boxes in the following locations: the lobby entrance, the fire stairwell, upstairs hallway entrance, the glass wall room entrance, and right before dropping into the boss area. So this one will take a little bit because I got to show you where all of them are and show you that there's no visible trigger boxes. Bear with me. There's the first one, checkpoint reach. No visible trigger boxes. Reached, no visible trigger box. Last one is right before the boss. I gotta complete this part to get there.
Warning. Fortified.
Bridge.
Welcome to the next. Hey, buddy.
And the last checkpoint is right here before the boss. Checkpoint reached. No visible trigger box. Alright, so that's it for the checkpoints. Back to the menu. Back to our tasks. Alright, so now we're on to everything else. The sound settings. Now, the thing about the sound settings is they work. They do. For some reason, I get a build, they work completely fine. Everything works completely fine. I'll go through this. So as a player, I want to be able to change the sound volume so the game is not so loud. Dependencies are options and sounds. Completion criteria, make a volume slider for master volume, which I didn't do because I realized if you have music, sound effects, and voice volume, you don't need a master. It's pointless. It's clutter. And then all sliders have to apply the settings and the position the player left them as they go back into the options, even after exiting the game and going back into it. Set volume levels must carry over to each level. Now here's where it gets tricky, because it does work. Every new build I've gotten, this has worked, but as soon as I submitted it to Perforce, the functionality was gone. For some reason it didn't work. So I'm going to actually go back to this one later. I'll touch on that in a little bit. But for right now, just assume they don't work in the current build that we have, but they do, if that makes sense. So, level boundaries. Now, in one of our play tests, we had one of our peers say that you were able to jump over the wall in the Shroud Sneak level and basically skip the entire level. So, this one is marked down as a bug. Summary is, in some parts of the game's levels, it is possible to go outside of the level's intended playable area. This makes large parts of the level passable and ruins the full experience of the game. The expected result is that the player is only supposed to have access to the intended playable areas of the game. When they attempt to get to an area they should be in, they should be blocked by, they should be blocked by either an invisible wall or some part of the level's scenery, making it impossible to get there. Actual result, in some parts, the player can use pieces of the scenery to jump out of the level's bounds and traverse parts that are not intended to be playable. Steps to replicate are begin the Shroud Sneak level and move along the wall to the end of it where the corner of the wall is. Walk up the slope of the block mesh tree and jump onto the wall. Drop down on the other side of the wall, skipping the door puzzle altogether. The severity of this is that it's a severe issue as it makes the game's mechanics obsolete. Dependencies are none. Completion criteria, add invisible walls in certain areas so the player cannot access out-of-bounds areas. Add scenery in certain areas to block the player from going out-of-bounds areas. Move or remove scenery objects that allow the player to utilize them to reach out-of-bounds areas. Alright, so we'll open up Shroud Sneak. I'll go to the point that was mentioned. So the part that they're talking about was over here in this corner. There used to be a block mesh tree that you could jump up on and get up on top of the wall and jump up on the other side of the wall, skipping the first two Shroud Sneak doors that you need to Shroud Sneak to get through. So of course you can't see them because this is a playable build, but there are invisible walls here now that block the player from even getting to the corner of the wall. And there's also invisible walls on top of the wall, so the player can't get on top of the wall even if they could climb a tree to do it. Also in this door here, where it usually would have been, maybe the player could have jumped over the door, there's an invisible wall blocking that from the player. Back to the main menu, and back to tasks. Okay, so the level end screen, easier to see. Now, for this one, there was no background blur or image or anything on the level end screen, so you could just see the level behind the buttons, and it kind of clashed a little bit. So I just wanted to add some kind of background blur or something so you can differentiate the buttons on the level end screen from the actual level and any widgets that could have been in the way. So as a player, I want to be able to differentiate the end of the level screen from the level I just finished, so I know what is a button and what is a level widget. Dependencies are the levels and the level end screens, and the completion criteria is add a background blur to behind the buttons and text of the level complete screen so it can be differentiated from the widgets in the level. So to show you what I mean, settings, because for some reason the Shroud Sneak level lags a bit on this computer, so I'm going to make it not do that so much. So this is kind of the shortest level, so I'm going to use this one to get to the end of it. Still all around here. buttons a little more prominently without it clashing with the widgets you can see in the background there. Menu, we'll move on to the next task. Okay, so skip splash screens. So I hate sitting through splash screens. I know that it gives the designers and the developers and game engine a little bit of credit for what they did, but some of them take entirely too long, and a lot of games just have too many of them. Our game has 2. So as a player, I want to be able to skip the splash screens so I can get into the game quicker. Dependencies are the team logo splash screen and the Unreal Engine splash screen. Completion criteria. Now, I had 4 different buttons that you could press to do this, but that doesn't make sense. People most of the time just go to the left mouse button anyway because their hand is already there. So I got rid of the enter key, the space bar, and the escape key, and just kept the left mouse button. So let's go into the game and I'll show you what I mean. Now for this I'm going to have to close the game so I can restart it so we can see the splash screens. Okay, so this one, skip, right to main menu. Game again. This time we'll let it go to the second splash screen and show you that I can skip that one too. Alright, second splash screen, skip to main menu. There. Let's go back to our tasks. I think we have just a few more left. Alright, so remove ability to shoot while using Healing Shroud. Now, originally, the game was too easy because if you were using the Healing Shroud, you could still shoot the enemies and they couldn't see you, so they wouldn't shoot back. So you could literally just breeze through the entire game without ever being hit because you could just Shroud Sneak and shoot at the same time. So as a designer, I don't want the player to be able to shoot while using the Healing Shroud ability because this makes defeating enemies too easy. Dependencies are the firing mechanic and the Healing Shroud mechanic. And the completion criteria, remove the ability to fire the character's weapon when using the Healing Shroud ability so they cannot sneak around and kill all the enemies without ever being seen. So, I'll go into the Shroud Sneak level. And I will show you what I mean. So, now, when you crouch, when you're crouching, you can fire the weapon. But, you also hear my mouse click so you can see that I'm shooting the weapon fire. So then, when you Shroud Sneak now, no matter how many times I press my mouse, no firing. So now I can't kill all the enemies without them ever seeing me. Alright, back to the main menu. Alright, so the last task is warning screen. One of the other students brought to my attention, or one of the playtesters brought to my attention that our game has a lot of loud sounds and a lot of flashing lights, and that someone who is photosensitive or has epilepsy or even PTSD could be affected by these things. So they suggested putting in a warning screen. So as a player, I want to know if the game I am playing has flashing lights or loud sounds so I can avoid levels or change settings if I am photosensitive to those things. The dependencies would only be the conditions that the player has, so no real dependency for the designer. Completion criteria, create a screen that plays when starting the game from the beginning or from the main menu or level select menu that warns players of potential reactions to flashing lights for those with epileptic photosensitivity and loud sounds for those with potential PTSD reactions to weapon fire. And urge the player to adjust settings accordingly so they can still play the game but not be affected by the lights or sounds. Alright, so when we go, now with the level select, I didn't want that message to play before every single level. So for the level select, I put it in the level select menu. Big red flashing, or not flashing, but big red warning signs so people will see it right away. And it says, this game contains flashing lights and loud noises, including automatic weapon fire and explosions. If you are photosensitive and suffer from epileptic fits or suffer from post-traumatic stress syndrome, please consider changing the game settings to accommodate your particular condition. So, So then when you play the game, it shows the message before the game starts. And it's the same message. You can click it to skip the screen, otherwise it stays on there for 10 seconds, long enough for the player to read the whole thing. And then it starts the level. That's the warning screen. Alright, now back to the settings. Now I'm going to go back to the task really quick just to reiterate. Alright, so for the sound settings, like I said, I have 3 sliders, one for music, one for sound effects, one for voice. Now the sliders are supposed to keep their positions when you exit the settings menu and go back in, or when you exit the game and go back in, or when you go into a level and then go back to the menu. They're supposed to keep their positions. For some reason, this does not happen after I submit it to Perforce. But, well, let me show you exactly what happens. Now this is the Perforce build. This is the build that we have submitted to Perforce. If we go into the settings, they start in the center. Now I could set them to different positions, and as you can hear, it'll turn off the music, it'll bring the music up to full volume, and it's the same thing with the sound effects. They'll get quiet as you go down, they'll get loud as you go up. Also with the voice. Quiet, louder. Now, set these to 3 completely different positions. When we go back in, they reset back to the original Perforce build. Let me exit the game, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Now, Perforce build is Eclipse, final build, October 22nd. This Windows build was built after. As you can see, it was created 10/22/2023 at 2:14 p.m. where this one was 10/22/2023 at 1:38 p.m. So this is a more recent build. So it opens up to the settings. Now the sliders are at the position they're supposed to be. This plus settings. Now, remove the sliders now. Go back, and then go back in. They kept their position. Go back, play a game. I'm in the first level. Back to main menu. Yes, settings are just how I left them. Back, quit game, yes. Play from the same build. If I go into the settings, they're right where I left them. So I don't understand why Perforce is changing the settings and making them reset back to what it is, but I can't see why my settings aren't working because Perforce isn't working. So this is just to show you that my settings are working. Perforce is messing with them and I can't understand why. So that's the end of my presentation. That's all of my tasks. I hope you enjoyed and I hope you like what you saw. And I will keep working on this game until it is complete. Thank you very much.
Hi, this is Scott Rowett recording the sprint review for the work that I had done for this final sprint for Partition Portfolio 4. Just opening the build. This is in the Perforce. This is a packaged build. So all of the work that I did in this sprint was centered around level 2. So especially compared to previous iterations of this level, the environment is a lot more detailed. So we have actual trees with actual leaves and a ground that is covered in snow and stone textures on things. So that is the floor has been replaced with a landscape. And there are higher quality textures used for the trees and for the environment. these sensors are still visible. You can still see the pink, but they are less immediately strong. And then there are these guiding lines pointing you in the direction of the level exit. So the mechanic still works. There are multiple different types of enemies in this first enemy grouping. There are red enemies that have guns, and green enemies that have rocket launchers, and they move around the area and patrol. So these first enemies are just to showcase the mechanic, and they just move around, and the player can decide not to engage with them. Additionally, these environments have had invisible walls placed so that the player can't leave the more stringent areas. So just to show those areas, and then that would be the reducing the saturation of the bright pink hues for sensors, and then adding enemy variation to the first group of level 2, and then adding variation. There is enemy variation in the second area of this level. So there are these red enemies, and then there are additionally these grenade launcher enemies that have a different attack pattern. So these enemies have a grenade launcher that they can fire. Yeah, so you can see it go off. So the blue still makes the player invisible. And there are some more enemies over here that need to be dealt with. All of the enemies in this area need to be killed before the level exit opens. So that should be all of the enemies, and then this key card is available. So shrouding. In this area, these enemies have been changed over to turrets that, when they detect the player, will shoot at the player, but they have been changed over from the basic enemy type to turrets. And then this area with the boss, the boss will wander around more. There he is. And these sensors deal a lot of damage to the player if they are touched. So, now that I've been spotted, they will chase after me. And so the boss has been killed. Now that the boss has been killed, these sensors don't hurt me anymore. And this key drops that allows the player to leave. And then this level exit has been expanded to look more sci-fi in nature, from falling petals to a door to a wider, more sci-fi looking door. Really quickly to go over the rest of these. The level exit has been tweaked. The numbers on the boss has been changed. So I noted this, that the boss ended up losing some max health because it was just a slog. And then the sensors would originally instantly kill you if you stepped on one. So now it's only half the player's health. So if they're full health going into the boss, they can take one hit, so they can learn the sensor mechanic. The boss had a specific metallic sheen and a different texture, and then a light on it to make the boss clearer. And then the mechanic that had been settled on was that the boss is significantly faster than other enemies in the level. They're faster by about 33%, like a third extra fast. And that number needed to be changed. So that's where that went. The only task that I didn't end up making any progress on was the UI revision. The UI at the boss area was broken. It wasn't working properly. That has been fixed. It now successfully leaves your screen when you press C, as I showed you. But it hasn't been changed aesthetically. So that's only partially completed. So yeah, that's everything. Thank you.